to another episode of The Common Theory, the number one competitive podcast for cPDH. And of course, I'm your host, Gatorbait TV, along with my man Rohan and my man Kunks. Guys, as always, Rohan, how you been doing, my bro? Everything been treating you all right?
No, actually not. Normally it's a yes, but it's been a rough couple of days over in the Mitra residence here. I spent my entire evening last night at the veterinary emergency group because my dog was a little guy was vomiting up blood, which was pretty scary. But he's okay. He's fine. It's just like really bad gastritis, I guess. He may have eaten something that we didn't catch, and but he's doing better. They treated him really well. Everyone over there is awesome. He's got some medication, and today he's been kind of a little out of it, but mostly fine.
Okay.
All sorts of random crap happening. Like our air conditioner's broke in 2 rooms, and the dishwasher broke, but then I repaired it today. It's been a challenge. It's just everything just happens at once, right?
Yeah, it's been man. Yep. Yeah. It comes in sets of threes, bro.
Yeah. But other than that, good. It's an exciting week for me magic-wise. I've got a cDH tournament coming up on Wednesday. A 60-card popper tournament coming up on Thursday.
Damn.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool things. Testing the new Malcolm breeches. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. Franklin, how's your weekend been?
Car washes are super expensive, bro. So I have to deal with getting my wife's car wash was way too much money. And then when I went to go visit Gator to go drop off a smothering type, it was like, hey, Kunks, your wheel looks a little bit messed up. I was like, does it? The edge is worn down. So I have to go get a wheel alignment, bought new tires. So $500 later. So before we started recording, I asked you, what's the point of having money if it just goes away instantly?
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't disagree.
But you know what? We're still alive, and we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think life is still pretty good. We're here together. We're friends.
I gotta think about that.
I'm relaxing. My weekend was I got to play a lot of Magic and test a lot of cool decks. So very unexciting, very unappealing.
I don't know. I'd rather take a
honestly,
that sounds like an ideal weekend.
That sounds a lot better.
Yep.
Sounds a lot better than what we were doing.
Yep. I hung out with my buddies, and a few of my friends came over. We drank beer and played Magic. So yeah, that was. It was hard.
You're actually living the dream.
But with that said, let's hop in and give everybody what they're here for. So we actually have a very interesting topic. I'm kind of going to jump into it, you guys, but recently we did the tier list. And the tier list didn't have a few decks. So what me and Puzzle historically used to do was we put decks on there that we found, even if we liked them, we would put them there, which is, a bit biased and things like that. So we're no longer doing things like that. So what we're going to do now is that after every tier list video, a few episodes after, we're going to come out with a video talking about decks that we believe can make it on the tier list, as long as they start seeing more play in the format, and or decks that we personally believe, the three of us, are viable. And that's what this episode is. So we brought 4 decks, community member decks. So we trust this deck building, and we're going to be looking at their specific lists throughout this. We're not going to be showing the deck list throughout the video here, though. We're just going to be discussing key points. We're using that in the notes for us, but we will have all the decks and the authors and everything down in the show notes below. Definitely give us comments. Give them feedback on their decks. Go like those decks. They're all going to be on Mox Field, so that's a plan for us today, you guys. And without further ado, let's bring in the first deck of the night. And that is going to be, let me pull this over there.
From our patron, Lotad.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about his deck, Shadow Wizard Money Gang.
Yes.
Melek.
Yes, so Little Rad Lotad is going to be our first person of the evening, and it's going to be Melek, Izzet Paragon. So this is a pretty interesting card. This is a card that says way too much for our format, right? Like,
it used to be a rare, and then it got downshifted in Commander Masters.
How about this? Why don't you guys read it aloud? We'll follow along, and then we'll kind of pick and choose upon the deck list.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up. I can read. Melek, Izzet Paragon. He's a 4 colorless, 1 blue, and 1 red. So he's got a thick CMC. He's a 2/4 legendary creature, weird wizard. He states, play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery card. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. So immediately, I'm thinking Elsha, but instants and sorceries.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, this card's gross. So
it's super gross.
I'm gonna pick on you, Rohan, bro. Don't hate me too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said that Weavers was a powerful deck because it's
Correct.
one of the few. It is the only deck that has just like the 1 card combo in the zone. This isn't a 1 card combo necessarily. It's a 2 card combo. Mm-hmm. But the 2 card combo with this is so simplistic. It's Ghostly Flicker and Mystic Sanctuary. Boom. Those 2 cards on their own win the game. This deck is nuts, right? And Mystic Sanctuary, let's be honest, our format could find that card infinite ways, right? Realistically, I don't even know, like, bro, Expedition map, like, how many island cyclers do we have at this point?
We're getting a new one.
Oh,
yeah,
Dustmore.
Just way too many. So Mystic Sanctuary isn't even difficult to find. Ghostly Flicker, I actually think, is the difficult card to locate in a deck like this. But we have Merchant Scroll, right? We have Drift, right? We have Muddle to go get another Merchant Scroll go get.
Yep.
So the ability to find these cards in a deck like this is, I don't know, I think it's just easy. It's incredibly easy. Yes, it's a thick boy, right? We're looking at 6 CMC. It's not easy. But if we look at this deck list, there is like, I would argue this deck has the most overlapping combos in the entire format within it. I'm going to run through this at light speed. I don't expect you guys to actually understand what I'm saying because I'm not going to understand half of what I'm saying when I'm saying it. Work with me here. All right?
Yeah, go for it.
This is going to be the craziest shit I think you guys ever hear me say. Cloud of Fairies. We have Cloud of Fairies. We have High Tide, right? So we could do the High Tide Blink Cloud of Fairies combo.
Yep.
We have Goblin Electromancer. Goblin Electromancer makes our instant sorceries 1 less, which also works with Cloud of Fairies without High Tide with Ghostly Flicker. But then we can bring in a High Tide and mush all those together. We have Blank Goblin, so Sticker Goblin. Sticker Goblin, if you get the 5, you'll be able to blink it and then do other shenanigans. I forgot to say this. Let me put this out there real quick. Melweb Curator. So I'm going to read that card to you guys real quick so you guys have a little idea of what these cards are. There are several of these in this deck. So Melweb Curator is a 3 colorless, 1 blue. It is a Phyrexian wizard. When Melweb Curator enters the battlefield, put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on the top of your library. So this is a pseudo Archaeomancer effect. So essentially what this card does, puts it on top, so Melek gets the secondary copies, which gives you 2 copies of Ghostly Flicker, 2 copies of all these other cards, right? You have one of these style put on top of your library, Archaeomancer effects. That, Blank Goblin. Boom, you get your red mana, filter, win the game. We have many copies of the Curators. We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, you have at least.
We have at least 5.
Yeah, you have the Mystic Sanctuary, Bibliotech Assistant.
6. Yeah, so we have 6 of those. Now let's revert all the way back to generic Flicker Loops. Archaeomancer generic Flicker Loops. Paragon Drake generic Flicker Loops. Ardent Elementalist generic Flicker Loops. That's not including any of the other cards we have, like Energy Tap. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Energy Tap.
This card is sauce.
In this deck, this card is disgusting. So Energy Tap, 1 blue sorcery. Tap target creature you control. Add an amount of colorless mana equal to that creature's casting cost to your mana pool. So 1 mana, add 6. You're tapping your Melek, you're getting 6 colorless mana. Card is gross. Gross.
Like a burnt offering.
Yep. I'm just touching the surface here for the record, you guys. I'm not telling you about Rite of Flame, right? Rite of Flame off the top of the library, right? Cast, right? You get your double cast, right? We're not including cards like Frantic Search. Frantic Search could win the game. Double High Tide off the top of the library. You have Snap, Archaeomancer lines, right? Mm-hmm. You could do Snapback Archaeomancer lines, right? To start different combos. You have Displace combo lines. This deck is so far in the weeds. You could do Rewind. Yes. The 4 mana counterspell, untap 4 lands. You actually can enter that in and create a loop with that card in this deck. Deck is gross. I could go on indefinitely about how many different overlapping combos. Like, they're hard to see, they're hard to figure out, they're hard to create, right? You gotta have certain scenarios, certain expectations when you're doing the loops, right? This deck excites me. Sorry for all the mumbo jumbo and all the shit that I'm saying. But this deck is fucking nuts. I love this deck. I have a lot of faith in a deck like this. Now, here's the problem. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, you guys. Mm-hmm. It doesn't see play. It doesn't see as much play as we want it to see play. But I have faith in it. And you guys are here with me. You guys have faith in it. Maybe I'm speaking out of line with that. But what do you guys think?
I think part of it is that it's just kind of hard to play through Mox Field. Because once Melek is out on the field, the top of the library has to be shown. It has to be revealed.
Well, it also has to be revealed through your draws, which is disgustingly, difficult, because you have to essentially pull every card off the top and show it to each opponent, and then put it in your hand. And then if they add, it's...
Yeah, and then like during scrying, like in between scrying or like drawing, you can cast things off the top. So you have to like sequence things a little bit weird. But something I do appreciate about the deck is that you can run Brainstorm.
Yes, this is the best Brainstorm deck. Yeah, in the entire format by far.
Brainstorm is one of the best cards in the deck. Easy.
Sorry for all the craziness from me, you guys. This is the deck I'm most excited for on the list. I love this deck. I'm a big fan of Izzet, if you guys obviously don't know that already. But this deck just it gets me so excited to see it, because it's overly convoluted, but it's exciting that it's like that. Like, I just love everything about this list. So
it's a nice deck that has a whole bunch of layered combos in it. It's great. It's amazing. We just need more pilots for it.
That's probably one of the most, if not the most layered combo deck in the format. That still has a lot going on. I have actually played against this deck quite a bit.
Oh, really? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. If you're piloting this deck, you need to be able to politic really well, because Melek really, once Melek comes out, that player is threatening a win just by having their commander out on the field.
Yeah,
which
I agree.
Yep.
Is a rough place to be. You don't really want to ever be in that spot, right? If you're playing a combo deck, you don't want to be in the spot where everyone is so terrified of you that the moment your commander out, they're just like, you must die now.
Whoa! I need you to calm down with those statements. Like, you're speaking negatively against all the Laylor Weaver players on the planet. Come on, man! Don't be like that to us. Like, just calm down.
Yeah, I mean, you never really want to be in that spot, and I think Melek just has you have to really reassure people. You're like, look, he's not doing anything. He's chilling. My top cards are useless. Like
you can see the top card of my deck, bro. Don't worry.
Look,
that's part of the problem, right? Like, if it's High Tide on top of library, your opponent just shits their pants. Right? Like, whoa, crap!
Yeah, you're gonna die. yeah. Or in the situation where, like, look, I can stack my deck, but I'll stack it with interaction, because if I don't do that and I don't play Melek, then we're going to lose to, Gretchen or whatever. And like, that's a way that you can start like figuring out how to like get your Melek in and have it live. But in the games that I've played, that thing has been the challenge.
You can't hide anything, right? Let's be realistic, right?
Yep.
If I brainstorm, you're going to see me draw High Tide, Frantic Search, and Merchant Scroll. And you're going to be like,
And then you see the cards that you put back on the top.
I know what you're doing, bro. I know what you got going on. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And I noticed that happening too in the games that I've played against the deck where, Lotad would have to hold a lot of cards in hand until the pop-off turn and would kind of like not really be pushing his board state or doing a lot of proactive stuff. He's either having to play table police or hold cards that are like the cards that you need, like a brainstorm or whatever, for your combo turn. But to do that, you need Melek. So it's like then you need to hold cards, like you have a ton of rituals. You're holding the rituals because you have to you're like, I need these rituals so I can play Melek. Yeah. Then I need these cards that, I need my brainstorms and stuff that'll allow me to immediately go for it. I need protection for that. But I also don't want to just lose on turn 5 to Malcolm Kedis or Gretchen or whatever.
Yeah.
So it does ask a lot, It
does. It does. But with that said, I think we all could agree. I do believe it can hold a place on the tier list.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, we just need more pilots.
I think the games where I really saw it be most successful was when the pilot, Lotad in this case, obviously, could basically say, like, look, that person's the problem, and then direct the other blue, black, or red player, control player towards that issue and kind of like manipulate the pod that way while they're like, I've got nothing. I literally have this one Archaeomancer out and I have lands. That's literally it. I'm not the problem. And then everyone focuses down, the other combo player or the existential threat. And then you left Melek alone. Melek just fucking wins.
I think that's our 2 cents on this, you guys. Melek, guys, give it a try. Card is sauce. Card is good. Start with this list. Like I said, we're going to be linking these lists down below. Comment if you guys think we're wrong. Let us know what you guys even think about these lists. Really would love to know. But I'm letting you know right now, these lists that we're going to be providing are good pilots. They're good players. I'll give it a little caveat. One of the lists is not like that. I'm using it as a bookmark for a commander. So when we get to that one, I'll point that one out. But specifically this one, yes, pick this specific list up, cater it to your liking, or play it as is and see what it is. This deck has tons of work done to it, including this deck specifically has a primer. So it'll help you out. You'll be able to read it. You'll be able to go within it and really understand why you're doing what you're doing. And it's up to date. Last updated 20 days ago. So this player is keeping up with this deck, really going in, really going hard, making this deck great. Franklin, take us away with the next one.
Yeah, so with the next one's also from another supporter in our Discord server, which if you haven't joined, the link is in the description. Also, if you haven't subscribed to us, why haven't you? You're already this far in the video, so just hit the subscribe button, click on the bell so you get notified when the videos go live, and support us over on Patreon. So with the next deck, it's actually Zada. It's a 4-mana legendary Goblin Ally that costs 3 colorless and 1 red. It's a 3/3 that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets only Zada the Hedron Grinder, copy that spell for each other creature you control that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. So if you target it with an Ancestral Anger, that is a 1-mana spell that says target creature gains trample and gets X plus O for until the end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard, draw a card. You will draw a card for every single creature on your side of the board, and all of them will get plus X was a +1 plus O buff.
I gotta interrupt you here, bro. This is like Storm.com, right? Like, if you play that spell, you have 5 creatures.
Yeah, you're drawing 6 cards.
Well, 6 cards. 5. So 5 other creatures.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, and there's a couple ritual cards in there that give you mana whenever you target Zada.
This deck is another deck by a very prominent community member, Stein. I mean, this player has been playing this deck, for the record,
for years.
This also has a primer as well, guys. As long as all of us can remember, this player has played this deck. this deck is good. This deck is very good.
This deck is scary as hell, too.
Yes, you choose to not respect this deck, you lose. Plain and simple. There's no questions about it. Bro, what are your thoughts on this deck? Like,
dude, I love this deck. This was the second cPDH deck I ever built. It was Izzet Guildmage, and then this one. And I think I've told you guys before in our videos that I play Crackling Sakashima at cDH. I play Rogside. I'm a Storm player through and through. Yeah. I've always been a Storm player. It's my favorite type of deck. You know, that's why I play Malcolm Breaches. I like non-deterministic Storm. That's exactly what this is. It scratches that itch for me. It's mono red, and I do love my mono red decks. It's just such a sick deck. I mean, Zada inherently just seems like such a broken card. And I mean, not seems like it is. It just is broken. Yeah, it's a wildly broken card. I think the coolest thing about this deck maybe is that the difference between the pauper version of this deck and like the cEDH or like the hyper-tuned EDH, like a level 9, level 10 version of this deck, actually not that far apart.
What you really do is just swap out the rocks for more efficient ones.
For more efficient rocks. But like almost all the spells are the same. The rituals are the same. That's super sick. I think it may be the only deck in our format that's really like that, where the Big Brother version of the deck and this version of the deck are almost the same deck.
It's a hell of a deck, right? Like when this deck wins, it wins. This is one of those decks that bothers me about like when people talk like logistics about like, oh, mid-range and combo and control. It's Zada, dude. It's gonna kill you.
Where's Zada gonna fit in there?
Yeah,
it's technically aggro, but it's also combo, but it's just a Storm deck.
Yeah, so like there's no real definition. Right? That's the definition of this deck. Like we can all agree that's what this deck is gonna do to you. You want to lose to an Ornithopter, play against this deck, right? Like that's what we see with a deck like this. I feel like we all made a mistake by not putting this on the tier list, but
yeah, I agree.
It's one of those decks that no one wants to touch it with a 15-foot pole,
which is really weird. I don't understand.
Stein plays it, but excluding Stein. Yeah, but that's locally to us, right? It's a bit different of a metric. In a lot of these events, we get you go, hey, play Zada. People are like, hell no, or it's solved. I think is one of the main things that we hear.
That's a crazy reason to not. That's like one of the most insane reasons to not play a deck. I feel like for me, that's like a reason to play a deck.
Yeah, right. It's solved.
Like solved,
okay.
Great. I'm playing that deck.
Yeah. Oh, Gretchen.
Fantastic.
I feel like winning a tournament today, guys. I'm gonna go play Gretchen.
Yeah, right. I'll never play it. I'll never play that deck. I hate winning.
Yeah. I've never
and this one has a primer, so again, you can be like Russell and go, yes, I'm a new player. Let me go read the primer. What does it say? It says beat people with Zada. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of answer. I think I can answer why people don't play that. I mean, maybe not. I know why I don't play it. And maybe that's the same reason why other people haven't played it.
What do you got, bro? What do you got for us?
It's a deck of extremes. When it does the thing, it just steamrolls everybody.
Oh, the extremes. I hate this argument.
It just is. It is.
It kills me, though. I hate when people say that.
I played this list a lot. Maybe not Stein's list exactly, but I played the deck a lot. I really tried to make it work for a long time. If you don't do the thing, you feel really out of the game. With that said,
I don't disagree.
I think Stein's list mitigates that as best as possible. And not only that, but Stein actually has multiple lists of this commander. If you
the one that we have in the description,
there is a more mid-range version of this deck that's playing a bunch of pingers, and has a pivot option to it, which I think it's still sort of in its infancy. I think Stein's still sort of monkeying around with it.
Yeah, but I think Stein only took it to the last Sanctuary.
Yeah. And there's something really interesting there that no one's really done before, that is trying to alleviate some of these issues that like I personally have with the deck. Like, once again, if Zada had 4 toughness, infinitely better. Better.
No, you can get there off of like just one pump spell.
No, I know, but like you have the right spell at the right time, right? Like it gets bolted once, cast down a second time, and you're in a really rough spot. I mean, you can recast your Zada with a bunch of your fast mana, but then you're spending your gas that you need to pop off. So it's like it can be tough, and you need the board state plus Zada to be able to hit that like draw 5, draw 10, whatever. And if you never have, you need both of those pieces. You need the all your 1/1s or whatever, and you need your commander. But if you only have one of those, not both, you're in a tough spot.
I think we all could agree. Like, this deck's good, guys.
Oh yeah,
pick up Zada.
Yeah,
you guys are tired of losing to what? I'm gonna catch some slack for my next statement. The combo decks that have combos in them and are they're good decks, like the Gretchens and the Malcolms of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, play Zada. Run those decks over. You want to beat those decks? Run them over with a Zada.
Win on turn 4, with Zada.
With 432 damage to each player, right? Like, I understand it's not infinite, but I think 432 could get the job done. So
you only have to deal. You only 90 of it has to make it through.
Yeah. Even though all your creatures have trample, right? Like, but it's fine, right? Deck is good, guys. Please give this deck a go.
I'll put in the main version, and I'll put in the spicy peanut one.
Definitely.
Yeah. And like, it's funny that people have called this deck solved, because I actually think this is one of the least solved decks in the format, because it's like you can take it in so many different ways. You can take it into token tribal, you can take it into pingers like we talked about, you can make it a goblin tribal deck, and there's so much you can do with goblins at common that I feel is also like an unexplored space. Which is so
weird, because there's so many people who play Krenko. This is better Krenko in PDH.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton that this deck can do. It's really, really, really interesting design space.
Rohan, take us away with the next deck, and you don't have to talk about the horrible guy of this deck. So,
who's the loser pilot of this deck?
I don't know. Someone who's really bad at PDH designed this deck, so that's probably why we didn't include it on the tier list.
So let's
Crocodile Chew.
The list will be linked in the description. You can see who the pilot is for yourselves. We don't have a very high opinion of this individual. So, Crackling Drake. It is a 4 mana, 2 blue, 2 red creature Drake. Its power and toughness is star 4. We'll get to the star in a minute. It's got flying, as it's a Drake. Crackling Drake's power is equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. When Crackling Drake enters the battlefield, draw a card. This card on paper seems pretty cracked. Like, that's
the name.
The name. Wow. The one line that stands out to me, and I'm always shocked by it being in here, is the instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in the graveyard.
Well, it makes sense, because for that version of Ravnica, they had Jumpstart, which was a mechanic that was exile stuff out of your yard so you can recast it.
Agreed.
Yeah. But that's cool.
Let's pull it back to, on the tier list, we did have Sprite Dragon.
Yep.
And throughout the Sprite Dragon conversation, we literally picked on Crackling Drake, and we knocked Sprite Dragon off the tier list and said Crackling Drake is a better Sprite Dragon.
Better version.
So that's why we're here right now talking about Crackling Drake, you guys, because you don't want to be blown out, right, by like echoing truth. This solves that issue. You want to play that better? Here you go. The end. In fact, you could play your instant sorceries prior to playing the Drake instead of playing the Sprite Dragon prior to the instant sorceries. So it's a give and take. This will always be superior because you don't have to defend it. You just let it exist, and it'll do the
worst
deed.
comes to worst, you recast it and just draw a card.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are an Izzet Delver or Izzet Murktide player, in
Oh boy.
standard, in modern, or in 60 card pauper.
Oh, soon Pioneer.
Okay. Everybody here. This deck is for you.
All right. How about this one, Rohan? Hit me with this list, and then I'm gonna hit you with the other list that exists.
Yeah.
Hit us with the generic combo variant this one is, and then we'll...
Yeah. So this, what we're looking at here, the list that we're referencing right now, is the specifically looking for the Paragon Drake combo, and I think that's the primary combo you're looking for in here, right? I don't think this is has crab.
Nope.
Untapped combos.
Generic.
It's just P Drake. Yeah, it's looking for a P Drake combo, which, for those who don't know, involves finding Paragon Drake, which is a 2/3 flying Drake for 5 mana. When it ETBs, you untap 5 lands. Then if you pair that up with an Archaeomancer or another creature that has an Archaeomancer-like effect, which says when that enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And then you are looking for one of 2 flicker spells, either a Ghostly Flicker or a Displace, which is a 3 mana instant that allows you to flicker one's creatures and the other one's 2 permanents that you control. And what you do is you flicker the Drake, you flicker your Archaeomancer-like creature. When the Drake untaps 5 lands, and then the Archaeomancer puts the Ghostly Flicker that you targeted with it back in your hand, allowing you to do it infinitely, presenting a loop, which nets you infinite mana, it nets you infinite ETBs, and it nets you infinite storm.
Yes, and with the Drake, which is as easy as it gets, Crackling Drake says what? ETB, draw a card.
Exactly. So once you have the infinite mana, then you can start flickering the Crackling Drake and the Archaeomancer, drawing your whole deck, finding one of numerous outlets.
I mean, bolt, lightning bolt. The game.
Yeah. Any direct damage.
Any card wins the game at that point, right?
Yep.
So it's a very simplistic game plan. I would say this is a control deck through and through, right? You have your wrath effects, you have your bounce effects, you have your control pieces. This deck, I would argue, is the most simplistic deck here that we have on the menu.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with simple.
Yeah, that's what you get.
38 instants.
Yes.
How many sorceries?
What? 13, which, 13 sorceries, I feel like, that's fair. 11 creatures for like a Izzet Spellslinger deck, that seems about right. But 38 instants that's a lot.
Yeah, that's literally half the deck is instants and sorceries.
Yeah.
For a creature that cares about instants and sorceries, it doesn't make sense.
If you like playing on the stack, play the stack.
That's what this deck is doing. Now, I will put a caveat. There's a few players. So I'm going to reference Clay. So many moons ago, Clay made a video back when it used to be the Tryhards about Crackling Drake, which was referencing my list, talking about we have a new combo variant of Crackling Drake in the format. That's what we're talking about right now. All of the other Crackling Drake decks that existed in the format had no combos and were just control pieces, playing mana rocks, controlling the board, bolts, the whole shebang. Totally different versions of what we're talking about here. Now, granted, I personally believe that you need some sort of combo outlet because it gives you a pivot point. You can pivot from beat you in the face with a Drake, or, ignore my Drake, or you killed it, here's a different Drake, win the game, right? So it gives you a pivot. I personally enjoy the pivot points. But that's not for everybody. You want a control deck, you want a hard control deck, use the Drake as your only win condition, could still be viable. I don't know if those players are still playing their variants of Crackling Drake in this day and age, but other versions of this deck exist. Look for them. I'm going to link mine down below. I will attempt to try to find the other ones, link those down below, you guys, so you can check out other variants of Crackling Drake. If not, go through Moxfield. You guys know how to do it. Find the other versions of this deck. Play Crackling Drake. The commander's freaking ridiculous. And don't be narrow-minded. Don't think, I can't curve it out. It's double blue and double red. Don't try to curve that damn thing out on turn 4 and think that's the game plan of my deck. Don't do that. You'll be you're going to lose to yourself.
So funny enough, the first game of PDH I've ever played in my life.
Oh, no.
He blows up my Crackling Drake, and I go, that's fine. I'll recast it and draw a card. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, recasting Crackling Drake. We're good. This is a value engine.
Yes, my introduction to Franklin playing cPDH was, here's my Crackling Drake deck. It's a combo deck, and he's like, I just played this big-ass Drake, dude. Check this out. Ponder, preordained. This thing is huge. Look how big it is. I'm like, it doesn't need to be big. You're going to die to these other things. No, I don't care. What? Why is there a flicker in my hand? What do I do with a flicker? I'm like, oh, no.
It's like, do I just flicker the Drake to draw more? Okay.
Oh, God.
Those were good old, many, many years ago.
That was like, what, almost 3 years ago at this point?
Yeah, it's 3 years ago at least. But with that said, guys, what is the last take on Crackling Drake? You guys want people to play it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, more people need to play it. They need to have the same experience as me of this combo in here. I'm just gonna draw cards.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool card. It's just, I mean, it looks sick visually. It just has a ridiculous amount of text on it. It's got flying. It's got a 4-butt, so it doesn't die to bolt. It does all the Izzet Delver graveyard shenanigans that Wizards is just going to keep printing absolutely outrageous cards for. So you don't have to worry that this deck is going to keep being insane. It certainly will be.
Yeah, Treasure Cruise doesn't shrink.
Grave Hate does nothing to it. I mean, it's super resilient. It's like, and if you want to just like play a version that has Double Strike and yeet people into the sun, you could do that too.
Crackling Drake with Double Strike, right? Like that's viable. My opinion.
I speak from experience.
How about you guys? Let's do our last one for the evening. This is, sadly, you guys, this is going to be the last one for the night. But this is a spicy one. So this one is brought to you by Brad Drac V. So this is none other than the cPDH pod, Brad, our sister channel. They are the casual, yet they continue to do everything in the Pauper format. They do cPDH sometimes. They mainly stay in the casual side of the stuff, but they are the true Pauper format podcast. So, guys, definitely check them out below. I'm going to make sure that I annoy Franklin, so he puts them down below, so you can link to them. You can join the Discord and all that stuff. But with that said, I'm going to bring you guys Brad's personal favorite deck. Now, it's his favorite deck. I'd argue it is his best deck. This is a Orzhov commander, so it's black and white. So it's Minthara, Merciless Soul. So 2 colorless, white and black. And Minthara reads as such: Ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. I know that's a weird one, because we don't know how the experience works as of yet. But at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, you get an experience counter. Creatures you control get +1/+0 for each experience counter you have. I understand that's not the most exciting thing on the planet, right? Because it's essentially dictates once per turn. Kind of mediocre. But we're in black and white. We're in the colors that's going to drag the game. We're also in the colors that goes, oh, you killed my commander? Sure, don't care. Recast my commander. But what Minthara has is one of the things that is very lackluster in our format. It's a pump. It's an, I don't want to call it an overrun. I think that's a mistake, but
it's just a good anthem.
Yeah, it's just a standard anthem, but a hell of an anthem, right? Let's just say this. Let's say the mediocre game plan, right? We're talking about most generic base floor, right? Turn 2, play Arcane Signet. Turn 3, Minthara. Turn 4, blink random creature. Creature leaves the battlefield.
Yeah,
right?
so it doesn't even have to die.
Thraven Inspector died in combat. Turn 4, you get 1 experience. I get it doesn't sound like it. We untap. Do again. Another creature. Throw a random. Now, this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of Brad's list. We have all these little dummies. But what this deck secretly is, this deck is a token strategy list. So we have all these little random tokens. We have Battle Screech, right? We have cards like...
Ministrant of Obligation.
Yes, there you go.
2/1 with Afterlife 2.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you have these creatures that die on purpose. That's their job. Their job is to just die. Well, what happens? Creature left the battlefield. What happens? It replaces itself, right? This is like almost similar to like a gut strategy, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm exchanging one resource for the next resource. And you just keep doing it. And then you have the flashbacks, right? You have the Accursed Marauders. You have these same exact creatures that are going to slow your opponents down. People argue that Gut Leader has the best pump in the format because of Leader, right? But this is excluding the fact that it doesn't pump the toughness of these creatures. But man, if you could keep Minthara for a few turns, right? Because let's be honest, your goal is to slow your opponents down. 4 experience counters. We don't have a single card in the format that gets +4 plus anything. Like literally 0. In fact, we have none that go +3, let alone +4. And imagine this scales. The longer the game goes, the more threatening I become.
I think there's a couple of them in red that do give +3. But they're, again, it's very few and far between.
No. To the team, 0.
Oh, to the team, no. Unless you're playing Zada.
To the team, no.
To the team, no. Hell no. This is the card.
Yeah, rites of initiation. That's the closest you'll get.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty.
Yeah, like on the
cards, right? Like, yeah, bro, we're jumping through 32 hoops, right? Like,
but even like on the job and auspicious arrival are only like 2 and
2/1 and stuff like that. Yeah. What do you guys think about this deck? Like, I mean, let's just look at it from a generic point of view. Like, we have like some of the best protection spells, Benevolent Bodyguard, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is a Minthara trigger.
Yeah, exactly. If we need to protect stuff,
Kami
of the False Hope, like it's beautiful.
I really like the Healer's Hawk actually.
Yeah,
it's a flying lifelinker. That gets big.
This gets huge.
Let me tell you the best card in the deck. You guys ready to hear the craziest card in the deck? Nested Shambler.
Yeah.
Could you imagine playing that card on like turn 8? You got like 4 random counters. Nested Shambler's randomly like a 5/1.
Really crazy.
Someone kills it accidentally with electricity. You're like, oh no, I have 6 5/1s now. 6 6/1s.
So scary.
Oh no, that or you just kill it for your own Deadly Dispute or one of your other draw spells.
Yes, but like it's just crazy, right? Because
it's insane.
There's so many accidental spells in this deck that are like that. But granted, Nested Shambler is by far like the most grossest one in this list by far.
Yeah.
But that's the one that makes me like always so excited to see. The deck is clean. The deck is simple, but I like it. Minthara is, in my opinion, a very overlooked commander because people are like, oh, well, it's slow, but the experience counters stay forever. And bro, who's gonna kill a Minthara? Like, it's a 4-mana 2/2.
Yeah, and it's in black, so it dodges all of the.
And it's gonna have ward infinity.
I mean, bro, once it hits Ward 3, that's already hexproof, right?
Ward 3, it's hexproof at that point. You paid 7 mana for your Minthara, and you're like, I paid 7 mana because I got some way to make it less, but paid 7, and I don't know what's happening at this point.
And even with all the creatures being super huge, you don't even want to block them anymore because you're just like, if I block this and kill it, it just pumps the rest of the team. What's the point?
Yep.
That's a sick deck. Also, I like that there's, because of the language on Minthara, it says if a permanent you control left the battlefield, it leaves it open to a few different ways to build it. Like you can play it as like a token sacrifice deck, which is the way that Brad's list is. You could play it as a flicker deck, like graveyard flickers and stuff. You can even play it as like a food or treasure deck.
You can even play it as a land deck.
Yeah.
Evolving Wilds, man.
Yeah.
Permanents leave the battlefield.
Yeah. It's like very, very far away from being solved. I mean, it's like miles away. There's so many options here, and that's really exciting.
Jumping again, Brad has a YouTube video for this deck. Guys, watch it. See what he says about it. See what he thinks. Another deck. This deck last updated 28 days ago. This is another deck that people they're updating it, guys. They are taking the time and effort to make this deck good, to make their deck good, to try this shit out. Try it. Please. Play the damn thing. Give it a go. If you don't like it, conform it to your own liking at this point. Deck's got to be pretty good. This thing has like 1,300 views. Jesus, this deck is...
Damn.
A lot of people
crazy.
looked at this deck. Yeah.
Well, I have one card for Brad, though, that he has to play. It's not. There's just one.
Let's call out Brad.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Please add a Thraben Charm into this deck.
Oh no, it's in the sideboard.
Oh, it's in the sideboard.
Oh, whoa, bro! In the sideboard is not in the deck.
Man, that should be in the main deck. That card is
get out of here.
Bananas.
Bro.
It is bananas. It is so wild. It's like the craziest. It's the craziest. One of the craziest fucking cards.
I second that. I agree. Especially that this is a token deck. That should be there. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, Thurman Sherman should just be able to kill pretty much any target.
Yeah.
Cards for us.
Except for opposing Mintharas because you don't want to pay the ward.
Well, I mean, hey guys, you guys want to win tournaments in cPDH? Thraben Charm says, kill Free from the Real, kill Malcolm.
Yeah.
Kill
Graveyards.
Abdel Graveyards, kill... Okay, wait. Everything you want to do in the entire format. Yes, card is cracked.
It stops every combo.
Yep. All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Literally all of them.
Card is gross.
Insane.
I mean, with that said, guys, any last thoughts about these decks?
No. Just all these decks that we talked about today need homes. We've been saying it forever. These decks need pilots. They have pilots with the one pilot of each Crackling Drake has a few, but who've developed those lists. But I think more people really need to do themselves a service and try them out, even if it's just on Moxfield. Just try them out.
I agree. Really hope you guys take a look at these deck lists. They're strong. They've been around for a while. Give them a go. If not, even give the Commanders a go. I
kind of want to build Minthara now. It's actually sick.
Yeah, Minthara is sweet.
Is really cool.
I
remember looking for a while ago, because I was getting trounced by Wilson a few games in a row, thanks to Hive, and I'm like, Ward is stupid.
Yep.
Uncommon commanders with Ward, please.
Yes, exactly.
So Minthara was like, oh shit. It's basically hexproof? Okay. Yeah, this seems good.
Like, it's slow, right? It's not even scary, right? Like, you play a Minthara, you're like, you really going to kill my Minthara? And they're like, it has ward 0. You're like, yeah. They're like, what a stupid card. And then they kind of just ignore the card for like 3 turns, and they're like, oh, I'm going to kill it. And you're like, your lightning bolt is like 6 mana, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, wait, whoa, why is my lightning bolt 6 mana? You're like, oh, it's been around. I've had permanents leave my battlefield. They just get confused at that point. I like Minthara,
Yeah,
I love it
cool.
too.
That's our final thoughts, you guys. Definitely, please pick up these lists. You will most likely be seeing these decks on the next tier list. For the record, we're going to be doing 90-day updates on the tier list. That's going to be our go-round. So remember that. Keep that thoughts in your mind. Remember these 4 decks. If you guys can bring them to these events, you will see these on the next tier list. If you guys don't, we're going to be right back to the beginning of where we are right now.
Yeah. You guys want to see changes to the tier list? Bring your decks to events.
Yes.
Only you can bring the change.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be the change you want to see.
Yep, exactly. But with that said, Franklin, take us home.
We all had like a pretty bad experience over the weekend, but you know what?
except for Chris over here, who seemed to have a great experience.
Bro,
Exactly.
I played Magic, guys. Like, am I supposed to be sad?
No, we're supposed to be like you, which is just, hey, no matter how bad things get, there's always a bright day to the next
That's
day.
it. I played Togo and Halana. I'm about to throw some rocks at both of you guys. Jesus.
And so everyone listening, even if things look pretty bad, everything's going to be all right at the end of the day. Just keep pushing on, keep your head up high. We'll be great. So with that, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Support us over on Patreon. Do whatever you do on Spotify. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.
Here's a shout out to all of our Patreons: Eric Christopher, Aaron, Dax, Devin, Rohan, Little Red Lotad, Kunks, and Scoob. Thank you everyone for all of your support.